So having worked so hard to see them passed and be shocked that years later it's still under assault, I decided to get back in there and make sure we keep all those protections in place.
Yeah, and I love what you said about the GOP. I mean, listen. I don't know why we've kind of all gotten caught up in this way of phrasing this next thing. We know that Democrats aren't perfect. Okay, that's like saying water's wet. We get that. All right. Mm-hmm. But that's not the conversation I think we should be having or leading when we talk. We should say Democrats are getting stuff done and place the blame of what's happening right now on a federal level that's trickling down. It's not even trickling down. It's pouring down on on states and local communities. That's at the hands of the GOP. Full stop. Federally and locally. That's the GOP. And too many people, and again, I apologize, Melissa, but you listen to the show. I know I get very passionate about this. We got to stop cutting ourselves in the ankles on this. It's the GOP that is at fault for what's happening right now, period.
Well, it absolutely is. I mean, this shutdown that's hurting so many Americans is because we have the weakest speaker in the history of the country. He could call Congress back, but he's left everybody off, and the Republicans essentially are on vacation. But my former Democratic colleagues in the House are ready to work and get things done, but it requires the speaker to bring them back. And that's just not happening. But I think if you also look at, Mike Johnson has essentially abdicated the power and authority of Congress to the president, and he's letting the president run the country by executive fiat. And that is not what should be happening. That's not what our founders and framers designed by creating separation of powers and balance of powers. And there's no balance now because the Republican Congress doesn't want to do the work. And you said it. The Democrats have delivered for the American people. The Republicans are not.
No, they're not. And that's one of the reasons why I like the fact that your experience inside of politics and outside of politics is important right now, because from a business owner and professional standpoint, you understand that, and I'm talking where I'm going is with tariffs. You understand that the tariffs are a tax on folks. We have a number of listeners that have helped me change my dialogue, Melissa, that it's a tax. And businesses can't plan around that. They just cannot plan. And I don't care if you're in consulting where you don't manufacture something, it still has implications, because let's just say that your whole category of business that you consult to are manufacturing companies. So that impacts a consulting firm that doesn't manufacture anything. Businesses can't plan.
True. It's true. Businesses need certainty, or at least predictability, and not chaos. And that's what they've been getting from the executive branch, who is running the country. And you don't have a Congress that's leading because the Republican Congress is not doing that.
You and I came to this earth about the same time, within a matter of months of each other. And the thing that I think that we've learned, I would hope, over time, is that you can't, when things are getting crazy, you can't look away. It's kind of like driving around a tight curve and deciding that you're going to take your hands off the wheel. You can't do that. And I think this is one of the reasons why your business experience is going to be a benefit for you in this campaign, and if you were the person that ultimately got elected. But I want to hear from you. What is that business experience doing for you in this reentry into politics, and why is it why do you believe it's relevant right now?
Well, I think it was even more relevant when I first came to Congress, because I tried to bring a results orientation. I think what we're really seeing now, but was even true then, is that Congress has become too performative. They think that, standing there and wringing their hands or putting their fist in the air and saying, this is a problem, we need to fix it. But they don't tell you, what are they going to actually do to fix it? And that doesn't work in the business world. And so I came with a results orientation and an orientation to bring people together and get things done. And we did. Like I said, we passed Obamacare, we passed Dodd-Frank, but we also did things like Lilly Ledbetter. Yep. It was one of the first things President Obama signed to make sure that women were earning equal wages to their male counterparts. And while that had been on the books, it wasn't being enforced. And so we had to make sure that it would be with the passage of that very important bill. But there's so many things you can point to. I was also there to represent small businesses, who are our largest employer in the country. And one of the bills that I authored that the president signed was the Small Business Lending Act, because we need our small businesses to have access to capital and to thrive and function and create jobs. And, those are the kinds of things that I'm proud of helping write or author or amend and pass. And we need that results orientation to come back to Congress, and I'm hoping to help be part of that.
Yeah, I think that that business experience is important, but it's also I think it's another way for you to campaign well, because here in Chicago we're the third largest city in the country, and we are a city we're a big business city. We're also a big politics city, and as a result of that, we probably, like no other city in the country, maybe New York, but certainly. It's a fair statement to say that our business community and our political community do work like two rails of a train track, and so I would wonder how that's helping you, or you believe it will help you in campaigning here locally and making those connections, or I'm sorry, Melissa, sort of making those marriages between politics and Chicago business and politics, and of course the entire district. What do you see as how that plays in for you right now locally?
Yeah, well, I think it helps me to understand. I mean, when you're a candidate or a member of Congress, it's really important to get out and listen and hear from people what their challenges are. For businesses right now, it is the lack of certainty and predictability, so it's difficult for them to plan. But even in the healthcare space, there's concerns for them as we now see research funding cut by the BBB. I will not use the president's language for that bill. I call it the bought by billionaires bill, because that more accurately reflects what that bill does. And so, it's really, having grown up early in my career in the business world, to work with folks, you have to listen to what their needs and challenges are and try to come up with solutions. And that's what businesses do. But government needs to do exactly the same thing. Listen, learn, come up with a solution, and then work, across the aisle politically. But, having to try to reach consensus, you got to collaborate with others to make things happen.
You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago, WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. And we're talking to Melissa Bean, former congressional leader that's now decided to get back in the fight and get back in the ring, so to speak, because she feels that the type of leadership that she brought is important, and it's a type of leadership that we need going forward. So, Melissa, what have you learned? Or I'm sure there's more than one thing. So, what are some of the things that you've learned while being out of the game and now about to re-enter the game? What have you learned, and what do you think that will do to help in your campaign and potentially if you became the elected official?
I don't know if it's something that I learned necessarily from having left. I think from having been there and then being away, I could see the dysfunction differently than some of my friends and family members, over the dining room table as we've talked about it. And I've learned that, when I ran the first time, I ran against the longest serving Republican member of the House, and I felt he was out of touch, and, he was, there was really an assault already, even at that time, on the American dream, as it's become less attainable for young people today. Coming back this time, that's still true, unfortunately. Particularly issues of affordability and housing. On so many levels, young people are they're not feeling hopeful about their futures and that the American dream is attainable. But compounding that, what really encouraged me to come back is the assault on our American values, those constitutional protections of freedom of speech, freedom of the press, freedom of assembly, which heretofore we have not seen like we're seeing at this time. Having, people in fatigues walking down the street, some of which in plain clothes, grabbing people and throwing them in vans, and they're masked individuals. There's a lot of fear and concern about people's futures personally, but there's a lot of fear and concern about the future of our country. And what I've learned along with everybody else is don't stay on the sidelines, get involved. and you don't have to run for elected office. But, I've been really proud of the American people for staying informed, because I think it's the only way a democracy functions is with an informed electorate. They're paying attention and they're stepping up. And we didn't just see that in the elections the other night. That really started with the No Kings rallies, which just keep growing in size. And I think that's important, as people are saying, we're not going to take it.
Yeah, no, and it's I like the way that we all know that the voices have spoken up, and going back to rallies this summer or protests this summer, and the same thing a couple of weeks ago, folks turned out all over the country, and that should, and it does, have the GOP shaking in their boots. They should be shaking their boots. It's an embarrassment what they're doing. And I'm talking about the GOP on a federal level and those on the state level. It's embarrassing, and it's disgusting what they're doing in terms of treating folks that they say they care about in a way in which they are, by either passing legislation or allowing legislation or presidential executive orders to just go without any challenges to them. That's on the GOP. They should be embarrassed, and people are speaking up. The elections that took place yesterday were monumental, and I said earlier, and I don't know if you heard this or not, I'm as impressed, if not more, of what happened down in Mississippi with them breaking that stranglehold on the state Senate that's been there for, I think, 25 plus years, as I am with the governor's wins with Mikey Sherrill and Ms. Spanberger and Mondami in New York, because those are areas that have historically, Mississippi, been run by one party, one group of people, and the folks in Mississippi said not any longer. What does that kind of talking, activity, participation mean to you when you look at what could be next for the country?
No, I think particularly given the illegal and unconstitutional acts that are going on, we need to pay attention to the judiciary. And people realize that, because norms that have never been challenged before are happening on a daily basis. And so I think people really do need to pay attention to those candidates in future elections, and they certainly did in this one. And so, the down ticket wins were just as, if not more important, given where we are, than the gubernatorial and mayoral and other races that Democrats had a good day. And I just think it's important to say, people say it was a great day for Democrats. I think it was a great day for the people, because the people stepped up and demanded better.
Without a doubt. I was saying, I read an article in part from one of our contributors and good friends, Sarah Jones with The Daily, that election night was the beginning of the people using their power. That's the title of the article. And I think that goes in line and partners up with what you were saying about the protest. And it's the people that won it. Folks have said, no, this is not cool, and I'm not going to be someone to sit on the sidelines. And I'm just so proud of so many of us that have made that decision. And you're one of them. You decided you're not going to sit on the sidelines anymore. You said that earlier in the segment. And so, who are some of your allies in this process? I mean, who are the people that are saying, yeah, Melissa, go for it, we got you?
Well, it's been fun. I was at the No Kings rallies, and I was walking around with people and reintroducing myself, and people were just so responsive. As my kids would say, it's been a minute since I've been in Congress, and people were like, "Oh, Melissa, we always vote for you. We love you. Keep doing what you're doing." I was like, some of them literally didn't realize that I had left. They said, "Whenever you're on the ballot, we vote for you." I'd been off it for a while, but I said, "Well, just keep doing that." I didn't even dissuade them of the idea that I had even left. So, it really is the people in the district. I mean, I worked hard to get around and meet people and know people and be visible and available. I think that's the responsibility of members of Congress. And I'm getting that really positive reception. And also some of my former colleagues, in Congress are stepping up, from Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who I roomed with when I was in D.C., who's been really excited and really supportive, to colleagues like Congressman Bill Foster, who really encouraged me to do this. He and I were in the trenches on the House Financial Services Committee, working on that Dodd-Frank bill that I mentioned to you. And so, that's been really exciting too. Tammy Duckworth has already endorsed me, and that's really exciting as well. I think she's such a great leader for our state. So the allies are there, and I just got to step up and do the work.
Keep stepping up. You've already stepped up, so you just got to keep, you got to keep stepping up. Melissa, what do you, if you were to say, all right, Richard and folks across the country, here are a couple of things that when I get there, this is what I'm going to make sure I'm leaning into. I know you talked about things that you've done in the past. I know that you talked about the dysfunction of Congress in Washington. But are there a couple of things, given the current events that are taking place right now, that you want to get there, and you're not really going to be a freshman, kind of a used to be freshman now, someone that's got a, moving toward being a junior. What are you going to take on? I mean, what's going to be the thing that you say, I gotta lean into this right out of the gate if you were to win this seat?
Yeah, well, I think, as I said, one, make sure the American dream is attainable for all Americans, and that gets back to restoring the health care bill to where it started and continuing to improve it, make sure, health care is affordable, because if you don't have your health, the rest of it really doesn't matter. But more importantly than the affordability of housing and health care and all those things is we really need to up our game to protect constitutional protections. So certain things that I'm really very concerned about this executive overreach. And all presidents try to exert more power than the founders and framers deemed belonged there. But this is an unprecedented level of overreach. And I really want to make sure that we codify and clarify things that previous presidents actually followed as norms and make them laws so that we can never again have someone overstep to the degree that this administration has. And so kind of restoring the Constitution as it was outlined is really important. Campaign finance reform is really, really critical. Preserving and protecting Social Security and Medicare and our safety net. Those are all things that are important. And one of the bills I tried to do when I was there the first time and I didn't get done, so some unfinished business, is a congressional accountability bill that would make sure that the taxpayer-funded website that every member of Congress has lists every bill that they voted for, not just the popular ones. I think it gets back to an informed electorate is critical to a functioning democracy.
So let me ask you a question about that in terms of an informed electorate. Clearly right now, the current administration and the entire GOP is trying to keep the electorate uninformed. And,
yes.
And as a result of that, I know you see this and you probably ask the question, how in the heck could that person be thinking that? Well, it's probably because in many cases they're not informed. So
right.
What would you say is going to be an opportunity, a tool to do a better job of informing people of what's going on and how we have to be participants in this process?
Well, I think that takes all of us, and I think what you're doing and your station is doing is helping. I think that's really important. But I think it's important that all people, and I used to require my team in Washington to read different sources of news, and particularly those that opposed one another, because if you read from both sides, whatever's true in the middle is what's true, because even in the media things get stretched, and so I just think that's important. So getting people to read is important. We've become a thumb society where we do everything with our thumbs on our phones, but I think it's important to get back to basics, to stay informed that way as well. But also, this congressional accountability bill would go a long way. That if you want to know, is my representative really representing me, there would be a place you can go to get that. And right now, our members treat their congressional website like a campaign website. And you only see what they want to talk to you about. You're not seeing a full transparency and accountability of everything that they're voting on. And I think that would be important. And I think also for people, make sure you're registering to vote, get involved in primaries. I think that's really important. Volunteer, keep going to No Kings rallies, because we don't need a monarch in America, and, do your part.
Yeah, without a doubt. So 2 final quick questions. One of them, so you never asked the question at the beginning of the segment. What did you all have for dinner last night? Or as I said, what did you have for dinner last night?
Oh, my husband was so kind, because I got home late, and we have a little George Foreman grill, and so he threw a burger on there for me and sliced some tomatoes. I'm trying to go lean right now, because when you're first kicking off a campaign, there's a lot of long hours and a lot of effort and just a little bit of stress. And so I have to say, I really overindulged on the Halloween candy. So I'm trying to go lean now.
Yeah, I hear you. Now, listen, all of us are, and then when we are of a certain age, that becomes even more and more important. So I hear you, Melissa. How can folks get involved? How can they find you? How can they say, you know what? I like what she had to say. I want to learn a little bit more about her.
Oh, that would be great. Come to Melissa Bean for Congress. There you'll learn a little bit more about me, my background, my priorities, but you'll also have 2 things you can click on. You can click to donate because you need funds to get your message out. And you also need funds, or you also can click to volunteer, because we need a lot of dialers to your point, Richard, help get the word out, communicate to people. And I'll be handing out, as I have in the past, those little pocket constitutions, so everybody can reread the Constitution and be aware of what their rights are.
Get back to civics class.
Yeah, I mean, it's inspiring when you read it, and you are reminded of the liberties and the protections that our framers and founders had the forethought to include. And I think people are starting to figure out it doesn't just happen; it's something you have to work for.
And you've been doing that, Melissa, staying lean along the way. But trying to. Hey, listen, I loud and clear. I get you. Thank you for being with us this morning. We want to have you back. As I've said to all candidates that we've been talking to this week, and in general, we want to have you back and have you continue to talk about your story. We have a deep bench, and you're part of that, Melissa, and I'm glad that you've been able to get back in the game. And whatever we can do to help in furthering your efforts, we're here to do that, as we are with so many of our strong Democratic leaders. So thanks for being with us today.
Thank you so much. And our bench is just like the Chicago Bulls. Go Bulls.
I'm telling you, right on. Melissa Bean, y'all, thanks for being with us, Melissa. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon, okay?
Have a good one.
All right, bye-bye. Mikey, let's take a quick break. The number is 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago, and WARR 1520 and AM 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I am Richard Chu, and we'll be right back.
This is Tony Moret. I'm an estate planning attorney who drafts living trusts and wills for my clients. You have probably heard my ads here on WCPT for the last few years. Your fellow listeners, when we have completed their plans, say, I wish I had done this sooner. It wasn't nearly as hard as I thought it would be. We can complete your estate plan within 30 days or less. There are certainly decisions that need to be made, but my 30-plus years of experience will help guide you through this process. There may never be a perfect time to start, but whenever I'm asked when is the best time, my answer is always the same. Now is the best time, while it is on your mind. Being able to tell your family that you have an estate plan in place, that all the details have been taken care of, will be a great relief to both yourself and those you care for the most. Our initial consultation is without charge, and there is no obligation. My phone number is 847-996-0496, and my website is moretlawoffice.com, spelled M-O-R-E-E. I look forward to speaking with you.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see mostly sunny skies here for today with a high into the upper 50s. South winds around 5 to 10 miles per hour, gusting as high as 20. And then for tonight, a chance for showers and thunderstorms, cloudy, a low near 49. By Friday, a slight chance for rain early on. Skies will become mostly sunny, high of 63. Saturday, chance for rain late, partly sunny, high of 52. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 38.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chew.
Guys, well, welcome back to the show. Thanks for being with us. Thanks to Melissa Bean for taking some time to hang out with us this morning. Today on Live, local and progressive Joan Esposito will be joined by Daniel Biss, Mayor of Evanston and candidate for Congress, Ed Yonka, Director of Communications and Public Policy at ACLU Illinois, Joe Brancatelli of the JoeSentMe.com business travel and newsletter, Rusty Hicks, Chairman of the California Democratic Party, and Heartland Signal's own Rich Eberwine with 3 stories that you might have missed from our digital newsroom, live, local, and progressive. Weekdays 2 to 5 here on WCPT, AM 820, heartlandsignal.com, and tune in. And then tonight, driving it home, Patty Vasquez will be joined by and with co-host Jaime De Leon and their guest, Thelma Young of the Solutions Project, Margaret O'Connor of Common Pantry, and Dan Schaefer, creator of the Recombination Area and political editor of Civic Media in Wisconsin. Driving it home with Patty Vasquez, weekdays 5 to 7 here on WCPT, Heartland Signal website, TuneIn, YouTube, and Facebook. And tomorrow we wrap up the week, and it's been a blessed week. I've been so honored to talk to the folks that I have that are running for various offices. We'll be talking with Illinois State Senator Robert Peters, who's running for the congressional seat being vacated by Robin Kelly. And at 7:30, Mayor Brandon Johnson will check in for our This Month with the Mayor interview. And if that's not enough, Karen Byrne from True Blue Politics Podcast will spend some time with me here in the studio. So looking forward to that. Make sure to check out my podcast. Choose Views, featured interviews, and full episodes. Podcasts are available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, iHeart, YouTube, and Amazon Music. Search for Choose Views or visit our brand new podcast page at heartlandsignal.com/podcast. Get all the latest right there. We're keeping it moving, guys, with folks who have been in the game, got out of the game in one way or another, and then got back in the game or working to get back in the game. And how would you feel, Mike, or anybody that's listening anywhere in the country, how would you feel if the federal government decided that they were going to, after years of service, tell you, nah, dude, you can't have your security clearance any longer, all because you spoke up about defending Americans? How would you feel about that? I would be a little salty. But the best way to get sometimes to fight back is to get back in the game and decide to do something about it. And that would be ex-CIA officer, military veteran Joel Willett, who announced to run for Senate in the state of Kentucky. I'd like to welcome Joel to Choose Views. Good morning, Joel, and welcome to the show.
Hey, Richard, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Yeah, they tried to take your stuff. You know? Listen, man, we're just meeting for the first time, but when I read your background and history, I was like, oh, yeah, no. So it's just, that's my phrase. They try to take your stuff, and I'm not cool with that on any level. Joel, introduce yourself to our audience all over the country. Tell us a little bit about your background. Tell us what brought you to the point where you're like, you know what, I think I should run for this seat because it's important not only to the state, but to the country. Go for it.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me. And if anybody misses anything, you can go to joelforkentucky.com, and there's a lot there, and be sure to check that out. But I'm Joel Willett. I grew up in Louisville, Kentucky. I was the son of a union iron worker. My dad was in the union. He was a Golden Gloves boxer. He was a great baseball coach. My mom worked in hospitals taking care of people. Both of them had some Kentucky struggles, though, is how I would describe it growing up. You know, lights didn't always come on when I got home from school. I learned later in life that, early in my adolescence, though, that both had been struggling with opioid addictions from a fairly early point in my life. Eventually lost my father to a fentanyl overdose in 2019. It's a very common Kentucky story, unfortunately, over the past couple of decades, as doctors have prescribed increasingly potent painkillers that got people hooked. And all of that could have happened to me, but it didn't because of our institutions. I worked hard, yes, but I got lucky. I joined the Army National Guard when I was 17, a couple months after 9/11, served in the Military Police Corps, went to the University of Louisville, University of Kentucky, went on to a career in national security, as you were alluding to. I worked for the FBI in counterterrorism, and then spent 5 years working for the Central Intelligence Agency, managing intelligence collection operations. Served in the Baltics, Balkans, Southeast Asia. I speak Russian. Spent the last year of my life government career, my government life in the White House Situation Room. And this was during President Obama's second term. I worked on everything from the Iran nuclear deal to responding to Russia's initial invasion of Ukraine. And I left government in 2015, in part to take care of, family back in Kentucky. And I was enjoying life as a private citizen, served as a CEO of multiple businesses that put hundreds of people to work every day. As a private citizen in 2019, I spoke out against against Donald Trump's behavior as it related to holding up military aid for Ukraine, contingent upon Ukraine investigating Joe Biden. You'll recall that that's what Trump was impeached over the first time that he was impeached. And continued to live life in the private sector. But over the past, year, it has been increasingly hard for me to sit on the sidelines and watch families like the one that I grew up in be steamrolled by a political and economic system that seems to treat them like they are acceptable losses. When, this tax cut was being passed that put $4 trillion back in the pockets of the ultra wealthy, and they paid for it by taking money out of Medicaid, which threatens to close 35 rural hospitals across my home state of Kentucky, as I watched our norms and institutions that pulled me out of the quicksand of generational poverty and addiction and all that be decimated and be politicized, and watched, the federal government in this country that I serve start to attack people like me. It became hard to sit on the sidelines. So I started exploring a run for the Senate. The Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, found out about that. They found out about mean things that I had said about Donald Trump. And you would think that these people have better things to do, like keep the country safe and protect us from threats from Russia and China and terrorism and the like. There's no shortage of threats to U.S. national security, but they don't. It's a revenge machine for Donald Trump. And Tulsi Gabbard said that at President Trump's instruction, she was revoking my security clearance. Again, because I guess I hurt his feelings, but I think there's something deeper here. I think they are scared of people, from working class backgrounds standing up for this system and fighting for people that are hurting, fighting for people that this administration doesn't care for at all. And so that's what happened to me. I don't want to leave you guys with the impression that my security clearance got revoked and then I decided to run for Senate. It was something I was already strongly considering for the reasons that I've mentioned, and this only added to my resolve to do it.
Even if it had, and this is me saying it, I'm not going to speak for everybody, but I will speak to this point. If it had been, and that were the sole reason for you running, I could get behind that. And I'll tell you why. Because it's an abuse of power. It's a misuse of power. And if that's not a reason to stand up for others, because see, you realize this, Joel, that if you don't stand up, somebody's going to step on other folk. And so even if that were the singular reason that you decided to run, that would be, I would think, for the folks of Kentucky or anybody broadly throughout the country, enough reason to run, because it's about protecting the rights of people to speak out. Because at its core, it would have been revoked because you said something where you spoke truth to power. So I hear you. You were already, walking down that path, and this just furthered the energy to walk down that path. But sometimes it's one thing that causes any of us to do something about something that we've got an issue with. But the broader reach, the ripple effect, the domino impact, as my wife has said to me so many times, the dotted lines are important because they connect to so many things that are so important to so many people. So I applaud you for that. I applaud you for getting in the race.
Your wife sounds like a smart lady.
Man, please. That ain't even close. She's brilliant. She's wonderful. And I am that dude that listens to my wife. And so I thank her for a lot of things. And so, yes, she gets it. And many people like her get it. And you're in that category of people that said, I got to fight for others. I get it. You've been close to what I would say, you've been close to the heat. You've seen it up close and personal, given your background in national security. So help me understand and help all of our listeners understand, what are some of the threats that you see right now when it comes to national security, and why are they so important? I mean, when I say threats, I'm talking about from within, not externally. We know peripherally about the external ones. But what are threats to national security that are coming from within with this current administration that you see as someone experienced in that area?
Yeah, I'm glad that you phrased it that way, because I have been talking to people about, a myriad national security threats that I have, seen and witnessed up close and personal. But I can say with 100% conviction that there is no greater threat to our national security, our national cohesion, than the economic war that is being waged on working class families across Kentucky and across the United States. The United States is the most prosperous country on earth. American global leadership has created global prosperity since World War II, the likes of which we have never seen. The problem is that we are not sharing that prosperity equitably across this country. That prosperity has mostly been captured over the past 40 years by the ultra wealthy. We continue to see wealth inequality grow to historic proportions, where the ultra wealthy get more and more, $4 trillion in tax cuts out of Trump's big BS bill that they passed back over the summer. They paid for those tax cuts by robbing Medicaid programs, by cutting money out of the SNAP program that is, at the center of a government shutdown fight right now, where I benefited from food stamps growing up. Food stamps meant that my parents could put gas in the car and get to work to earn a paycheck to be able to buy more food, right? I understand those struggles up close and personal, but the point is that wealth continues to accumulate at the top, leaving most of the economy, most of the population behind. And everywhere in history, when you see fascism grow, it has grown in the fertile fields of wealth inequality. When people feel that the government does not care, it's not listening, it's not effective, it's not delivering results for them, then they start to buy in to strongmen who say this system is broken and I'm the only person who can fix it. And they get desperate, and they will start to support all sorts of things in the name of trying to get more economic security, right? And trying to feel like the playing field is a little more level. This is an insider threat to America, and it's something that is driving communities apart across this country. And it's absolutely something that we need to address. We've got to put this government back to working for most of the people, not against them.
I appreciate you saying that about the internal stress and strife, the economic war, because I've said my version of that, and you can take the baton on this in a sec. That if we want to improve, our security both globally and domestically, the first thing we got to do, if we're going to talk about quote America first, is to make sure that people have a place to live as best possible. Make sure that people have food in their bellies. And people have an opportunity to work and do good things in this country. And this current administration, the first time this administration under Trump, and now again, has failed on all of those points. There's no question. There's no even debate about it. And I love how people put out the question, and this probably annoys you when people say, "Are you better off than 4 years ago than you?" Let's talk about better off 9 months ago. I mean, there are people in this country right now, and I know you see this, Joel, right now, that 9 months ago, 10 months ago, a year ago, their lives were better, or certainly with more certainty than they are right now. And so the economic war internally and just taking care of folks is what we've got to lean into first and foremost. And I'm glad to hear you talk about that's part of what you're running for and part of why it's so important to you. Joel, how are the people in Kentucky receiving you in your campaign right now? What's happening there?
Yeah, I've been able to get to, I think, 23 counties across the state. I've got a lot to go. We've got 120 counties in Kentucky, and voters are energized. I mean, obviously, we got to get out of a Democratic primary, but I know that the Democrats across Kentucky are energized about this race. Mitch McConnell has been a senator since I was 5 months old. Half of my face is gray now, Richard, and Mitch McConnell is still the senior U.S. senator from Kentucky. So people are very excited for this opportunity to turn the page on his failed leadership. He sold out Kentucky a long time ago, and his quest to remake the federal judiciary, I think, will go down in history as one of the most consequential and in a bad way,
Yeah.
right? Senators in this nation's history. So there's a lot of energy on the ground for our campaign and in this quest to replace Mitch McConnell. And so I will tell you that Kentuckians are scared about a lot of things right now. The Trump's tariffs are biting in Kentucky. We've got manufacturing at risk there, from the Ford plants to Toyota's manufacturing. Our bourbon industry has been absolutely decimated by Trump's tariffs. Agriculture. You mentioned the less certainty that people have today than they had just a year ago. There's an incredible amount of volatility that has hit people all throughout, economic, tax brackets and communities across Kentucky because of Trump's volatile style of leadership, slapping tariffs on one day and off the next and back and forth. And, maybe the Supreme Court will put a stop to that soon. We will see.
Yeah.
But either way, people are hurting in Kentucky. We've got, a massive population of people that are on Medicaid. The cuts to Medicaid, the refusing, as Republicans have done, to extend the Enhanced Affordable Care Act subsidies. There's about 100,000 people in Kentucky that use those subsidies, that stand to see their insurance premiums jump anywhere from $1,000 to, in some cases, $17,000 a year. And so people are scared. They're energized, they're motivated for change, and they are also fearful for what's to come under Trump's economic policies.
Joel, you mentioned the primary and all that. We've had other folks on. The other day we had Amy McGrath on. You guys are all great. I said this to Amy. I'll say it to you. I want a D in the column because of what you said about Mitch McConnell. And listen, I'm gonna support the person that's gonna win and get it done. And I say this as respectfully as I can. I love you all because I recognize here in Illinois, a blue state, Chicago, a blue city, that getting a blue D or getting a D in Kentucky, which means blue, is great because you've got a great governor down there that, ironically, is partnered really well with our governor here in J.B. Pritzker and Andy Beshear. So we need the win. So let's talk about whoever gets through and how we go forward. What is that going to mean more broadly than just in the state of Kentucky? What do you think that's going to mean to the country at large?
Yeah, well, I appreciate the support and the interest in the Kentucky Senate race from Chicago. I don't know how many of your listeners I might lose with this statement, but I'm a lifelong Chicago Cubs fan.
I
lived in the Loop during graduate school, and rode the Metro train down Lakeshore Drive to Hyde Park. So. Love
Man knows his stuff. He dropped that one on us. Did you see how he did that, Mike? He weaved that in. I rode the Metro train. He didn't say, he got it right, and then he said down to Hyde Park. He nailed that one. You probably picked up some support right there, Joel. I got to tell you, man.
Whatever I lost with the Cubs comment, hopefully I get it back.
There you go.
Yeah, but the broader question is, like, what does it mean, for the country writ large? I mean, Kentuckians have shown a remarkable independence in the Trump era. They have elected Andy Beshear governor twice in the Trump era, a Democrat who doesn't pretend to be a Republican.
Nope.
Which I think is important. A lot of times, Democrats running, even in states like Kentucky, they tack right on a lot of things, and I think voters see through that.
Yeah.
Voters don't like it when they feel their politicians are being disingenuous or trying to hide the ball from them. They're going to chase you down over these issues. And Andy Beshear hasn't hidden from his values in any way. He's led with them. He's explained the decisions that he's making to Kentuckians. And importantly, he has shown up everywhere. We've had something like 14 natural disasters declared in Kentucky over the past couple of years. And the governor hasn't hidden in the governor's mansion. He's been out there, meeting with people, and he's built a lot of energy around Democratic politics again in the state of Kentucky. So, I want to give a lot of credit to Andy Beshear for the work that he's done, and just for Democrats across the state to continue to organize and invest so much in our politics and in the future of the state. But make no mistake, like, this is an uphill battle for a Democrat to win. I think we can do it. The votes are there, right? And I think we have the issues on our side. And I think that, you alluded to the primary candidates. We're fielding, candidates with military service and public service, and in my case, military, public service, and private sector, business backgrounds as well, to be able to speak to a lot of people across the state. But it will mean that, we have fought up and down the ballot in all 50 states to help break this fascist fever in this country right now, that we as Democrats loosely defined, right? Because this is the thing, we get involved in these purity tests in the Democratic Party so much. And I think the election results of this week show that, you can run candidates that have a wide spectrum of views, but those candidates have to be appropriate to the states and the places in which they are running. And there is room for all of that in the Democratic Party, especially in a time where our most fundamental values, like free speech, like due process, and all of these things are under threat from an administration that doesn't believe in any of it. So I think it will mean that there has been a massive pushback against this, and I do think it is important that we fight in all 50 states up and down the ballot. You don't give up on places just because they've supported Trump over the past 10 years.
I've been saying the last 2 days that the win in Mississippi of breaking that stranglehold on the Senate in the state of Mississippi, which, its history is, unfortunately legendary. That to me is as big as the win of Mondami in New York and Spanberger and
that one's flying under the radar.
It's right, but I'm doing everything I can, Joel, to talk about it, and I'm going to keep talking about it, because that speaks to what you just said about people are stepping up and recognizing what their power is, and you're doing the same thing. So we're excited to support as best we can, way up here in Chicago, which he knows, which is cool. Really cool that he dropped it on us like that. Man, he's down Lakeshore Drive. He didn't pretend. But I say that with the sense of humor that we can, but that also speaks to the importance of us all having a little bit broader knowledge of outside, knowing where we're from, which you do, and your history, but also being able to reach out to folks in other areas, because you never know where your next support and supporters are going to come from. So, kudos to you for acknowledging that on this show this morning. Listen, man, it's been great talking with you. And I know we couldn't cover everything today. So we'll love to have you back in the future to talk again. I think it sounds like you've got a grasp on the issues, not just in the state of Kentucky, but more broadly in the United States. And I know people want to hear from you in that space. But let our listeners know here and all over the country how they can find you, how they can follow you, and if they choose to get involved, how they can go about doing that.
Yeah, and again, thanks for having me, Richard, and happy to come back anytime. JoelForKentucky.com. That is the easiest way to find me, learn more about my story, why I'm running, to be able to support the campaign. You can find me on any social platform, whether from TikTok, which I begrudgingly have been following on recently. Have you seen this Nicki Minaj Four Non-Blondes trend going on?
Hey, man, listen, you're about to get me in trouble. I don't know nothing about that.
That place is crazy. TikTok is crazy is my point. At any rate, I'm losing the thread here. Joel for Kentucky. You can find me everywhere. I know text messages and emails trying to raise money for campaigns are super annoying. It is very important to get the message out, to be able to get all around the state. So chip in what you can. Find candidates that you're passionate about. Support them directly. And you can find me at joelforkentucky.com and anywhere else.
A guy that grew up knowing how to throw a punch because he can take a punch, and he's been doing that in this campaign. Joel Willett, thanks for being with us this morning. We look forward to having you back again soon. Stay safe. We'll talk to you soon, okay?
Thanks, Richard. See you.
All right, bye now. Yeah, I mean, he's speaking about the things that are important right now, and it, just like any of our, I come back to this. We have a great bench because we have people that care about the issues that are important not just to the areas that they represent or look to represent, but for the country at large. And I think that that's part of the message right now. And you know, transparent and candid, we've all probably kind of gotten in our little silos in one way or another, not in our thinking and our actions and the things that we decide to become a part of. Right now, our superpower, part of our superpower, is our ability to reach out to other areas and say, we got a lot in common, y'all. And if we're going to fix this thing, we all have to decide to join in one way or another. Joel, I didn't know that he had. I mean, people may not understand the fact that he was able to speak to the fact that he took the Metro to get to Hyde Park, University of Chicago. That to me, that's important because it says that we have these little connective tissues, Mike, little bitty things that we may not know about each other. Now, now I know that Joel's been in Chicago, was grad school, and knows his way around a little bit. Fan. Right, Cubs fan. That, to me, is powerful stuff, guys. It goes back to the phrase, we have a lot more in common than we have apart. And one of the things that right now we have to hold on to is that very fact. The diversity in our country makes us so damn strong. It just does. It just does. And so I want everybody, if there's a takeaway today, is to recognize the importance of our diversity and that coming together, like Dr. King and Malcolm did, that like Bobby Kennedy Sr. did, and so many other great civil rights leaders in the 60s, that coming together, that strength is part of who we are. And no, do not let the folks on the right take that from us. Do not let them talk down to us about that. It is one of our superpowers. And we have to hold on to that. And we have to make sure that that wave is coming at them because we're about to get in that backside. Thanks for being with us this morning. Thanks to Joel for being with us. Thanks to Melissa for being with us. Thanks to my man, Mike McCarter, for helping us out this morning. Take a deep breath, y'all, and make your life count. We'll see you tomorrow.
Still struggling with gas, bloat, constipation, nausea, or diarrhea? Have you tried eliminating foods but felt no change? It's time to call the tummy whisperer, Renee Barish, at Digestive Health Solutions. Renee uses targeted testing to reveal exactly what's happening in your gut. Gut bacteria plays a key role in all your body functions, from cardiovascular regulation to brain function. When the gut is imbalanced, you may experience symptoms that extend beyond the gut, such as anxiety, skin issues, poor sleep, or increased risk for disease. Digestive Health Solution uses advanced testing to identify harmful microbes and evaluate the overall balance of the gut ecosystem. Get insights into your health, digestion, and how your microbiome affects all aspects of your body. Stop suffering. Call Renee now at 847-207-2034 or visit thetummywhisperer.com. That number is 847-207-2034. Let's get you feeling better. The Tummy Whisperer.
This is a WCPT 820 Heartland Signal News Minute.
In a recent interview on WCPT's Choose Views, former Trump administration appointee Miles Taylor recalled a meeting he had with senior advisor to the president, Stephen Miller.
In the first Trump administration, on the second floor of the White House, in his office in the West Wing, he said, when we win a second term, it's going to be a shock and awe blitz against the American people. We've got a stack of executive orders, and we know we're going to get challenged in the courts, and we're going to try to run as many of these up to the Supreme Court as possible, because they believe the Supreme Court would either agree with the president or try to sidestep controversial decisions that hamper the president's ability to engage in this expansive view of executive power. And so far, I think we've seen that from the court.
For WCPT 820 and Heartland Signal, I'm Andy Miles.
Protect your liver and give it the support that it deserves with Active Liver from New Nordic. Find Active Liver in stores at your local CVS, Meijer Grocery, or online at Amazon or NewNordicUSA.com.
For WCPT 820 and Heartland Signal, I'm Andy Miles.
Protect your liver and give it the support that it deserves with Active Liver from New Nordic. Find Active Liver in stores at your local CVS, Meijer Grocery, or online at Amazon or NewNordicUSA.com.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see mostly sunny skies here for today with a high into the upper 50s. South winds around 5 to 10 miles per hour, gusting as high as 20. And then for tonight, a chance for showers and thunderstorms, cloudy, a low near 49. By Friday, a slight chance for rain early on. Skies will become mostly sunny, high of 63. Saturday, chance for rain late, partly sunny, high of 52. That's your latest Chicago weather update.